Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon, or even good evening, depending on where you are. My name is Beth. I am Beth Y, and I had my cohort and colleague with me, Beth Meek, and we are Between Two Beths. And today we're going to talk about living again when everybody else seems happy. I'm going to give you a little bit of background about myself. I am a life coach. I'm a certified transition specialist. And so I help midlife people going through major life changes. I specialize in getting widowed people from existing to living again. I myself am a widow. I lost my husband in November 2019 on my birthday unexpectedly. And then we went into COVID, and I was in near isolation for 2 years. I will now hand it over to Beth, let her introduce herself and kick off our topic.
Okay. Well, hi, everybody. It's nice to see you. And Beth, it's great to be back together with you for this recording. I am Beth Meek. I am a champion for the midlife caregiver. I am originally I'm a holistic nutrition expert and health coach and turned midlife caregiver, turned champion for the midlife caregiver because after 2 seasons of caregiving, I saw the need of women not taking care of themselves during that season and losing themselves, actually. And I remember that probably one of the most. So I help women to feel like themselves again during the season of caregiving and not lose themselves through caregiving and nutrition and all those fun things. But we've got to change our minds and realize that we can take care of ourselves during this season. So that's what I like to do. But did you want me to introduce this, or did you want to go ahead and do it? How did you want
Go
to?
ahead. You can.
Okay, I can start. Okay. So yeah, we thought this would be a good topic for summertime because summertime seems to bring everybody out into in front of us, right? Everybody's outside, parks and family gatherings and fireworks and all things like that. I find that summertime is one of the easiest times to compare ourselves to others, what they're doing, what we're not doing often, and to struggle with unmet expectations. So that's kind of how I was approaching this topic today because it feels like when you're caregiving, you're doing things that you'd rather not be doing and or that you're missing out on doing things that other people are doing that you would like to be doing or at least have the opportunity to do, whether it's a family gathering or fireworks or picnic or holiday weekend away, multiple things it can look like, even going for family pictures, right? So many people do that in the summertime because people are together differently. um, so that's kind of how I was starting my thinking about this season. So how about you, Beth?
Yeah. I think that's very on point. And for widowed people, um, there's a lot of it can feel like, I mean, you go from a we to a me, okay, when you become a widowed person. And, it can feel like, everybody else is thriving. They're
Yes.
out and about, you know,
Yes.
and, you know, and particularly because when you're widowed, um, you also you have reservations about companionship, particularly initially, right? And so you
Yes.
look around and everybody's coupled up. I can
Yes.
remember shortly after my husband's passing, I went to a restaurant and I wanted to get a table, and it was over the holidays. And I was told because a table of one
Yes.
that I could not sit at the table. I had to sit at the bar.
Oh,
Um, and so, you lose your sense of self
mm,
as well, right?
yes.
And everybody else, feels like their life is secure, that
Yes.
they've got a roadmap and your roadmap no longer
It's
applies.
changed.
And it also feels like, everyone's going somewhere, but yet you're solo and you're alone. So your thoughts, Beth?
Yeah. Excuse me. That's so true, Beth, and I'm so sorry for that experience. That would be awful. And let me say, I can understand why they might do that around the holidays, but they should never do that. And I almost hope that you never went back to that restaurant, or that if you ever went back, you stated how disappointed you were in that you were treated that way. Because this is part of this whole the expectations and things like that. We have no idea. I'm gonna have to get a sip of water. We have no idea what people are going through when we come upon them as a unique person, one person coming into a restaurant, or as a caregiver or a widowed woman, when we see others doing things that we wish we could be doing. We are comparing someone else's highlight reel, so to speak, right? The
Yeah,
thing that is
absolutely.
visible to us, to our pain and what's invisible. What we don't understand is they didn't ask you why you were there alone. They didn't understand your situation, your unique situation, and maybe not very unique, right? And don't we don't see the arguments or the frustrations or the financial pressure that this family might be under when we see only one picture of smiles and laughter. I was thinking of little kids, when they put clothes on that their mom wants them to have a picture taken and they're saying, "Oh, it itches. I don't want to wear this, right? I want to wear my," like it's that type of thing. We don't see that. What did the mom have to do to get those kids to look that way in that picture or to get on holiday, right? So there you go, Beth, right back at you.
Well, I think it's interesting to use the term the highlight reels. And I
Mm,
think, that's very applicable because like when we look at social media or we see
yes.
people out,
Yeah,
most of the time we're seeing them at their best, right?
absolutely.
And I think what we all have to realize is that we all struggle privately. So when we look at them and we think everyone else seems happy, why am I not? But are they really?
Yeah,
This is the public persona
that's
that
right.
they're putting on. But when they go home and they close that door,
Right.
I mean, what is it? How are they really? Um, and I think it's important too that you don't stop being part of that social circle. And that's not something that's easy to do initially as a caregiver because you have all types of pressure and stress, and you're probably
There's-
not feeling your best. You're not taking care of yourself.
Yeah,
Or as a widowed person, um, you're grieving, right? You don't want to go out. You don't want to socialize, but if you stay in that isolation,
yeah,
right, it's just going to compound, that feeling of distraught, being
yes,
distraught.
yeah. Yeah, and it's going to compound that comparison because
Yeah,
it
absolutely.
elevates that feeling that you don't want to have and the other people don't look isolated. And you know what I was thinking when you were talking? It made me think about how important friends are. And we were talking before we got on air about Beth doing a couple things recently with a particular friend of hers. And when we have friends that we can count on to help us out, and like even if they don't know how to help us out, but I could call as having been a caregiver or yourself in your situation, we can call on that friend that we would trust to uplift us in that moment or to say, take me out for lunch or go out to lunch with me so I don't have to do it myself. Or, whatever that need might be to support us in saying, did you go out to the grocery store, supporting us by encouraging us to get out of the house and stop isolating. The other thing for caregivers is that we might not have that support for our loved one to get out, but to have a trusted friend that would sit with your mom for even 15 minutes or half hour while you went out to take a walk or went to a park where there might be more people, right? Or something where they, or go grocery shopping where there will be other people, and that helps prevent that isolation. And I remember how hard that was. And even now, I'm an introvert. So even now, I am a homebody, a happy homebody. I don't need that. I have to push myself to do some of those things. And I have some trusted girlfriends who, we do things pretty regularly. So if I don't do them with them, they're still doing it. So, and that is a part of caregiving and widowhood. I'm sorry, I kind of just took off on that.
No, that's fine. And I think that's important. So this particular friend that Beth was referencing, I actually met her on a trip to Greece 3 years ago.
Oh,
And I did not know her before then. But she lives about 20 minutes from me, and we have remained good friends. In fact, we're going to Portugal together. And in September, we went to Morocco together last April.
oh.
But she is one of those people. So when I met her when we were in Greece, I actually got what I call Greek COVID. And so by the time I got back to the States, it was past the 5-day window, and I was pretty sick. And not only that, I was in the process of moving. So I had to pack up my home, and I had a 2-week window. And then I got a lung infection on top of COVID. And I was running fever. I was so sick.
Oh,
And this person whom I had just met
yes.
3 weeks before reached out to me almost every day and said, "How can I help you?"
Wow.
And she has been checking on me. And if you ever listen to our first episode of Between Two Beths, I had an upset tummy all week. And she was out in this area, and she actually stopped to bring me some medicine. So we had to stop the recording because I was like, okay, my friend's in my driveway. Hold on a sec. But anyway, it's important, yeah, that you do that. I think also, um, when you're widowed or even as a caregiver, isolation, but being single is hard,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
And so one of the things another friend and I do is, some people, and we've talked about this before, that they'll invite you to something or they don't invite you
yes,
because you're single and everybody else is coupled.
yes.
So my other friend and I, who's also a widow, we joke, and now we're known as each other's. All our friends know us as the plus ones,
Oh,
so we take
yes.
each other. So, and
Nice.
some of the other things I'd like to do, something I'm proud of myself. So I made a pact with myself. Now I moved 3 years ago. I went to coaching school. I started my business. I had some core friends that I knew for a long time, and my new friend that I met on the Greece trip. But I also decided that I felt I was a little stagnant.
Mm.
Okay. And I felt like, and as a life coach, I thought, you know, go coach on yourself. Um, and I made a pact that I was going to expand my social circle this summer. And I was going to do things that were so outside my comfort zone.
Good for you.
Um, and I have. Unfortunately, Beth and I were talking before we started. One of the things I was doing was volunteering at a community event. Um, it's an outdoor, it's an outdoor happy hour. They have bands and they have beer trucks and wine trucks and food trucks, and they have like an outdoor stage, like amphitheater style. And
Nice.
so I was volunteering there just to get out and meet new people and kind of get exposed to some things. Unfortunately, 2 weeks ago, I broke my ankle and my foot. So I'm kind of out of commission in the volunteering realm. But I also joined a social group on Facebook that I found, and I didn't know these people. I met them at another, like a singles mingle. I met some people and they told me check it out. And I'm actually going to have dinner. So tonight I'm meeting a bunch of people to have dinner. And so I think, as I'm tooting my own horn, because this is, again, is outside my comfort zone, but I think you
Yeah.
have to invest in yourself too, right? That you have to take that initiative and say, people aren't going to show up at my door and say, be my friend,
Yeah.
okay? Or let's go out,
Yeah.
you know? And so I've decided that I'm doing it. I've become friends recently in the last, since I guess October, where I took an online writing class and I found out it was all across, I'm from Maryland. It was all across the state of Maryland. And so I found out one of the people in the class was from my area, and we kind of got to talking. We decided to meet for lunch, and we found out we're 2 miles from each other.
Wow.
And so I think you have to invest in yourself, is what I'm trying to say. That you don't have to do it all at once, but I can tell you that the everyone else's happy illusion that we're talking about is when you invest in yourself and you decide that you are going to feed things that are important to you, and that includes social activities,
Yeah.
but it can also be like intellectual activities. I joined a book club, I did my writing class,
Yeah.
that you become much more fulfilled as a person.
Yeah.
You build confidence in yourself, um, and you become that happy person.
Yeah.
And as a widow, I will tell you that my life is much different than it was when I was married. It doesn't mean it's obviously, it was horrible that my husband passed away.
Hmm.
Um, and that's something that I will carry with me. But my life is different.
Hmm. Absolutely.
But it's not, but there are parts of it that are great.
Yes.
I have some core friends that I travel with. And so making yourself visible
Yeah.
is just a key part of moving forward, and do it on your terms, and do it
Yeah.
not because somebody told you, but because that feels right for you at that time.
Yeah.
That's
That's amazing, Beth. Thank you for sharing that. And you know what you were describing, it came to my mind when you were talking, is you're showing up for you. You were showing up for yourself. And not that that's easy and not that that's all done at once. But you described many ways that people could do that. But I also wanted to comment about what you said about your life being different now as opposed to when you were married. And of course, it would be different. And caregivers go through this too. We've got to get over having guilt for having a good time again, or taking care of ourselves during the caregiving season. Yes, it's difficult, and it's probably more difficult for the person who's ill or has a condition of some sort and unable to get around or unable to be the way they used to be than it is the caregiver. But it is still different for difficult for the caregiver, and the guilt that comes with doing something for yourself that you enjoy, having a good time when you know the other person is unable to, is something we do have to work on in our mindset, right? It is something we are allowed to still have fun. And I was thinking of different ways the fun might look like for caregivers. It might not look like everything we've just talked about. And even what Beth was saying about volunteering and things like that, that might not be possible. But it might be sitting down with your loved one and having tea, or watching the birds at your bird feeder, or doing something, laughing together. I remember how much laughter can be a part of that. And yet we stay in this sad place. And we don't have to. At times, yes, it is sad and it's necessary to be there. But the
yes.
life we're now living can be happy and fulfilling too, just in a different way.
Yeah, and I think you said about the guilt, and I think caregivers, if they do something for themselves, they feel guilt. I think widowed people, if they're having a good time, or my husband always wanted to go to Greece, so I struggled with that a little bit.
Yeah, of
But
course.
my brother-in-law told me, I guess it was about 10 months after my husband passed away, and this was his younger brother. And um, he told me, my husband and I had built a house at the beach, and I was down at the house. I have since sold it because it was just too much for me to take care of it by myself.
Mm,
And his brother came down, and his brother and I have always had a good relationship. In fact,
nice.
I knew his brother. I met my husband through his brother.
Oh, no,
Um,
neat.
yeah. And so he was down and stayed a couple days, and we had a long talk. And he told me, now I was, a fairly young widow. This was unexpected.
Mhm,
Um, and he told me, he looked me square in the eye and
mhm.
he said, Sweetie, you've got a lot of life to live yet. Don't let anything hold you back.
How'd that make you feel, Beth?
I mean, to this day, it chokes me up.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, well, that is probably one of the best gifts he could have given you,
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
And like I said, it's been, and then, everyone else is happy, that illusion.
Yes.
Um, and then, we'll wrap it up. But
Yes.
it's been 6.5 years since my husband passed away.
Hmm.
And I was supposed to have been, now his brother, the one I mentioned,
Yeah.
has since built a house at the beach. So, and I'm still close to him. I
Nice.
was actually supposed to leave tomorrow afternoon and spend a long weekend down there, but
Oh.
I opted to not go because sand and broken foot and ankle don't go together. And I just detract from everybody else's fun, and it's fine. But yeah. So anyway, what I want to say is, we don't script these conversations. We might have talking points, but we don't practice, we don't rehearse. This is just coming from the heart,
Yeah.
and the soul. And you know, neither Beth or I advertise. We do things like this. We both have, websites, we both have, social media posts, et cetera, et cetera, but we don't formally advertise. I am a life coach. Like I said, I'm a
Mm,
transition specialist. I'm um, master practitioner certified in energy assessments,
mm.
and I am accredited by the International Coaching Federation. If you'd like to have a conversation with me, or if you'd like to offer a topic that you would like for us to talk about,
Yes.
you can reach out to us. You can find me you can see it on my screen there, Beth at beyondcoachingbybeth.com,
Yes.
and also at www.coachingbybeth.com. Beth, I'll hand it over to you.
Awesome. Thank you, Beth, for sharing that at the end. And you're right, we don't script. And this was one of the one of the most heartfelt, I think, conversations we've had. It was amazing. I think we could continue going on. I was watching the time. It's like, oh my, we try to keep these limited, and but we never know what we're going to get into. And what Beth said about contacting us, I we don't usually promote or anything, but I did want to kind of say something at the end of this episode because July is an important, very special and exciting month for me. I am going to become a published author this month. Thank you, Beth, for your support as well. I've written a chapter. I'm a featured author in an anthology, which is a collection of stories and strategies for caregivers called The Caregiver's Advocate, and it is volume 3. The first two have been international bestsellers, so we're excited about what volume 3 can be. But the reason I'm saying something about this, not only would I love your support with buying the book when it's available, if you'd like, but I have a wait list for that where I share behind the scenes and things like that. That if you'd like to join, I would love to have you. So whether you're seeing this on a post, you can DM me or comment. If you're seeing this and watching this from an email that you got, you can reply to the email. You can touch base with me in any way. Beth at bethmecoach.com is my email. And if you're seeing this on Facebook or whatever, you know where to comment. And just let me know you'd like to be on my wait list. But that's kind of what I wanted to end it with. And thank you, Beth, for another fantastic episode and for showing up vulnerable as we do sometimes more than we want, but it is called life, right? And we
Yeah,
want others to know that it's okay, right?
yeah. We're
Awesome.
humans.
That's right. So
And congratulations.
thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. And with that, we'll say goodbye to everyone. See you next time. Bye, Beth.
Bye.